Hello parents and biology students. In this video, I want to talk about where the biology class is now and where we're headed. There are some students who need more time to read through sections, right? They might be younger or they might be new to understanding concepts that are discussed in the biology book. So it's very difficult to put everyone at the same pace for some of the chapters just because the study skills need to be built. And we're going to build those. We're going to do our best. I have books like How to Be a Star High School Student. I have resources on how to take notes. We're going to be teaching those study skills on the side. That's part of what we want every one of our students to learn. How to take notes, how to study for tests, how to take the test. So we're going to run some of the tests in school. You might be hearing from time to time, for example, chapter 5 and 6 in biology, we're going to do both tests in school the week of December 18th. We're just going to run that as a test for the whole class to see how they handle taking tests in class, right? So please, if your child is doing chapter 5, which is on genetics, they will learn about the Punnett squares and Gregor Mendel, which is great. But then in chapter 6, they're going to learn about biotechnology, which is one of the newest fields of study today. It's one of the things with a lot of stuff happening. So we will talk about biotechnology, we'll talk about genetics as the students present each time, right? So for example, on Monday, some students are going to present on their animals or on plants. They should all be working on their presentations where they pick an animal and they discuss what makes that animal unique. So that leads me to the question, why are we doing presentations? Well, first of all, public speaking is something we want them to grow into, like just keep growing in. I told them in chapel today, and many people don't know this, but when I was younger, prior to 10th grade, I actually was nervous and scared to speak in public. For whatever reason, I just didn't want to do it, or I was a little shy. And then by 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, some things changed. And I could tell that story another day. There's actual specific things that happened that led me to this place where I got more comfortable. And then by 12th grade, I started speaking almost every week. That was part of my life in 12th grade. And so I want the students to get comfortable at an earlier age of giving talks. They might become a manager at their business. They might become a CEO, an entrepreneur, a professor, a teacher, a nurse who has to meet strangers, a doctor, a lawyer who has to defend, different cases. So basically, we want to build that skill. It just takes time. So this presentation is going to help with that. But here's the other reason why we're doing the presentation. When I open to chapter 7 in their biology book, it talks about bacteria and microbiology. Chapter 8 talks about fungi and protista or protists. Chapter 9 talks about invertebrates. Let's just talk about earthworms and let's dissect earthworms. Let's talk about crayfish and dissect crayfish. Chapter 10 talks about fish and amphibians. Let's just go down the list and talk about different type of fish. Chapter 11 talks about mammals and birds. Let's talk about birds. Let's talk about lizards and snakes and turtles. So notice that we're just talking about different animals and different, that's what the focus is for chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Chapter 12, let's take the human being and talk about the cardiovascular system, the digestive system, the respiratory system. Great. And I'll actually have a cardiologist. We'll do an interview with a cardiologist and some of the other specialists in these different fields because I want the students to be to learn from cardiologists, right? I have a friend who's a Christian cardiologist out in Duluth, Minnesota, so I'll be reaching out to him. There's a few of them actually. It's interesting, several cardiologists who are believers, right? And so I'm going to have them chat about what they do. So chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is literally focused on different types of organisms, and they don't go deep on these things. That's the thing. When you look at some of these organisms, it's taking like flightless birds is half a page. Flying birds is another maybe a page and a half or 2 pages. But what if we could actually give students different birds to study and then they come and they share their passion about the birds they learned about. What if they're excited about a certain rodent, which I don't know why anybody would be excited about rodents. They're just weird. But maybe they want to talk about rodents. Maybe they want to talk about this insect. Come and share your passion. That's what they're doing with their project. So chapter 7 to 12 will do that. Chapter 13 is on plants, right? So plants, different types of plants, different parts of the plant. And then chapter 14 is on the physiology of the plants. And then the book ends with environmental science and ecosystems, which is a little bit of ecology. So that's the biology curriculum, right? So right now, it's November 18th, 19th. It's about November 18th, right? So we take the date and we say students are going to have a chance to finish chapter 5 and 6 by December 18th when they're going to take the test of both chapter 5 and 6. And actually that test is the Thursday of that week, except if students are gone. So you should be expecting that they're taking a test. Sorry, I apologize. We'll take it on the Monday of that week. So we take the test on December 18th. That's their next big test. It covers chapter 5 and chapter 6. I already have chapter 5 and 6 test in front of me. I've looked at it. I've seen what it's about. You can do them together. They're very short. So it's going to be a 50-minute test. They'll have time to work on that. So they should keep reading. They should keep doing their review questions for the chapter they're working on. They should keep doing their comprehensive checks. They can look at the book to see any information they need. And if you go to the Appendix B of the book, so the Appendix B of the book, it actually gives them a breakdown of what they should be doing every single day. Well, here's the problem. What if your child has already read chapter 6? We had somebody who went ahead and read chapter 6 or 7. Okay, if they're way ahead of us, it doesn't mean they sit down at home during science time and not do science. They should keep working on their science, keep working down the list of concepts. And so if I look at this now, and as far as where we want to be by the end of, like before people go for the Christmas break, basically they should be, we're going to finish week 14. So by December 18th, we want to be able to work our way all the way to week 14. The questions are interesting, and that leads me to another major update for biology. There is a video series that goes with our book, not just videos that provide extra support for the concept, not videos about here's how DNA works, here's how cell division is shown under a microscope, but it's actual videos that go like, hello, this is chapter 5. In this chapter, I'm going to teach you A, B, C, D. So there's actual videos that do that. Now, if you know anything about Mr. Tarfa, you notice that I love philosophy of science a little more than just teaching science. So if we're talking about genetics, I might turn and start talking about the implications of DNA, right? Because I love the philosophy of science. So what are we going to do to balance Mr. Tarfa's passion with the reality of students mastering every single concept in the book? We're going to recommend that students watch the videos that go with the book, and I'll send the link for that. The students should watch the videos. Email me if there's any concerns about that. But they should watch it. If they read the chapter and they feel I would really like a lecture, a formal lecture in chapter 5, that's available to them. It's right on the publisher's website. Okay, so let's land the plane. So we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas. There's a lot of downtime that can happen, right? If people are done with their Thanksgiving meal and they don't want to watch football, the fake football, because I'm a soccer player. But anyways, if they don't want to watch the Lions play after that, and I only know that because my relatives watch football, but what should they do? Well, maybe they can read a book, like Can Science Explain Everything? And so I'm asking parents to please consider buying one of these for your kids. It's on the website. I'll send a link also. If finances are a concern, I would be more than willing to find someone to help us buy more for the school. But please see if you can get a copy. This is probably one of the best tools for any science student who has any faith that wants to learn about the discussion between science and faith. This is Can Science Explain Everything? It's a condensed version of his other book called God's Undertaker, Has Science Buried God? So John Lennox has written Can Science Explain Everything? God's Undertaker, Has Science Buried God? He's also written 2084, which is on artificial intelligence, and which is kind of cool as we're talking about biotech. And he's written a book on the book of Daniel called Against the Flow. A lot of great resources. So I want to encourage students to make sure they're reading good books like that, or biographies of people like Johannes Kepler, or the guy who came up with some of the physics for MRI. This is Raymond Demadian. He was a doctor, medical doctor, and a PhD professor as well. And lastly, so I'm going to leave these books up here. These are the two books that Mr. Tarfa would love for our logic integrated part of our science class for us to explore this year. Can Science Explain Everything? And The Return of the God Hypothesis, which is by Dr. Stephen Meyer. Dr. Stephen Meyer's colleague is actually coming to speak to our school in February on Darwin, around Darwin Day. So there's a day called Darwin Day, and we're going to have an event on the campus with this speaker, and then he's going to come talk to our students as well. And we're just going to talk about the different pieces of science and faith and creation, evolution, intelligent design. We're going to be talking about a lot of that when we come back in February. Or, well, after the break in January and February. So these are the two books I highly recommend for people who want to get into scientific apologetics. I appreciate your time. I just wanted to give you the plan. Why are we doing the project? What does it look like to get a more rigorous day-by-day lecture or more lectures for the book? We have a website link for that. And then what does the rest of the year look like, right? Where should my child be by December 18th? Let's aim to get to week 14 in the Appendix B. If you have any questions, please let me know. But that's the plan for biology. We've graded Chapter 4 tests. Those grades are going to go to Quick Schools, but right now I have them in Google, and I might email parents the update on that, and then we want to teach kids how to study. So please encourage your young people. I'll put the videos for this on Vimeo because there's less distractions. YouTube is a dangerous situation for some. So I want to use Vimeo. Vimeo doesn't have those ads. We have a paid account there for the school and videos. So I'll put videos on how to take notes, how to study for tests, so that every student has what they need. We can do this. I'm excited to work with the students, getting them the study skills they need, and then discussing the implications of the science they're learning. Take care, have a blessed day, and thanks for the opportunity to work with your child.